All right, cool. We are officially live on YouTube. Let me just click to go live on IG. Let's mute
Here we
that.
are.
Boom. All right, here we go. We're live on IG right now as well. Yeah, Instagram is going to have the weird formatting.
Yeah,
Also, if
it
you
is
want to
what it
add
is.
your IG in there as well, or
Yeah, I'll get in. I'll jump in.
all right, so guys, what's up? First off, appreciate everybody who's been hanging out in the comments. We already saw people. Robert's here, Gwendolyn here. People who are hanging out saying, "Is this still happening?" Yes, it's still happening. This is just what happens when you let two black people be in charge of the setting of the time. Caroline also works on CPT, as we found out. So we're getting
Sometimes.
started a little bit later this morning, but I appreciate everybody's patience. I appreciate you guys being here live. Gerald, I appreciate you for being here. Oh, cool. You're setting up
Yeah,
over there.
you're good.
I appreciate you for being here this morning, Gerald, because we're doing something a little bit new where, a lot of people have been requesting this, especially they wanted to hear from you. They've been requesting to know some of the background story from the people that are inside the Millionaire Mindset community, the people who are starting to have some success. And you're someone that Caroline and I have gotten to know pretty well over the last several months. I've been fortunate enough that I've been doing coaching with you for the last 7-8 months. Caroline's been also doing coaching with you, teaching you her entire pre-foreclosure process. And as a result, I kind of want to jump right into it on this year alone, 2025, because we're in December. Today's December 8th. In 2025, how much money will you say you would have made from focusing on real estate, focusing on high equity pre-foreclosure? Like ballpark, what would you say would be the gross revenue of checks cleared for you?
Oh gosh, I mean, from the last 8 months, just primarily focused on pre-foreclosures, generated well over $300,000.
Gee, wait, where's that button? I found the button earlier. I can't find it. Where's my button at? Oh, I can't.
No.
I'm gonna go find my buttons because we need this. Where is it? Oh, here it is.
Oh,
Dude, that's huge. That's amazing. So a little over $300,000 cleared. Just gross revenue focusing on high equity pre-foreclosure. And that happened all like overnight, right? Like that's just like within, you just made a couple phone calls.
no, heck no. No, there's no way that happened overnight. I mean, otherwise everybody would be doing it. And the hardest thing about it was like I didn't have to do it all by myself because I've had a whole team behind me that was making me look like a rock star this whole time.
So I love that. So I wanted to start there with just like that number of like, okay, 300,000 cleared 1 year, several months of doing this, but that's not where you started. Cause when you and I first met, what's cool is you told me, and I was actually talking about it this morning, you told me that you found me originally from YouTube. Like you were on my YouTube, I think. And then from YouTube, you reached out to me on IG. We got together, we started doing some coaching. But bring me back to where were you last year? Like what got you into real estate? What put you onto the entrepreneurial journey? Why did you decide to get into this world?
Yeah, so all right, Marlon. So I don't want to hurt your feelings, all right?
Oh gosh.
But I found Caroline first.
I didn't know this.
Wow.
I found her on the creative thinking podcast. I forgot what it was called, but it was you
And Ingrid?
and Miss Ingrid.
I remember
Oh.
One of
seeing
the
your
episodes
Facebook.
that I've saved, I was like, yo, these are gems. My first time watching Marlon was on your Ingrid shared her calculator. And you guys were talking about the war chest, the income, the expenses.
No way.
And I would always go back to that one. And I'm like, all right, this is sick. I even copied and pasted my own, because you know how she shared the Google Sheets?
Uh-huh.
I used that for like 2 years straight, not knowing, like I would always reference back. So I'm always like, okay, I got Marlon in my head. I got Caroline in my head, Ingrid in my head. But no, and I reached out to, I had followed Caroline first. And then I had one time got onto one of her episodes, which Caroline probably doesn't remember. But yeah, that's how I came about it first. And then I got into, okay, you started your YouTube channel. I started getting into your world. You started sharing more of the insightful stuff. Like you started doing Bible studies. I followed you on Instagram. You would have your lives. One of the lives that I've talked to you, or you might have reached out to me one time, was when you were on the treadmill just speaking mindset. And I just was like glued to it. I'm like, yo, like this is this is where it's at right here. Like, I got to follow this guy. This is the circle I need to be around.
Dude, that's crazy. I like it's so like this right now, by the way, is I'm grateful for you sharing that because like right now we're streaming onto our YouTubes right now. And it's always that reminder of you never know who's watching when they need to hear something. Like that's so cool. It's like so from Caroline doing something with Ingrid, which is like you don't even do that podcast
We don't do
anymore.
anymore, yeah.
But like from there, it then led you over. Like I guess I came on, you saw me. From there, you were in my world. Then like you went through coaching, and then it came back in, hooked you back in with Caroline.
Yeah.
And now it's like you're at a place where you're making money and having babies because you just make too much money. So now you got to go have more babies to spend your money.
Exactly. Yeah, I got to make it up somehow.
So that's rad. So okay. So now so back then you're on YouTube, you're looking for, I mean, the only reason you would find like Caroline, myself, Ingrid, any of us is because you're probably on YouTube looking for the same things all of us were looking for, which is like, how do I make money and stop being broke? That's what I was searching for on YouTube at least. So where were you in life? What were you doing before all the real estate or even back then when you first came across Caroline? Like what season of life were you in?
Yeah, so I was a barber for like the last 15 years. I started cutting hair in 2009. One day my mom just decided because there was 5 of us boys, she was like, all right, I'm tired of paying all you guys' haircuts. I'm going to buy clippers and one of you guys are just going to cut each other. Well, none of my brothers wanted to cut hair. And I was like, all right, I'll cut everybody's hair. I just did one size all over my brother and my mom loved it. And I was like, all right, I think this is me, right? This is the path I'm going to choose. And I'm a freshman in high school. And I decided, okay, let me go and cut everybody else's hair. Let me go and cut the wrestling team because I was in the wrestling team. Let me cut the football team. Let me try to get really good at this one thing. But here's the preface of all this, right? Freshman year, living in Stockton, California. Stockton still to this day. I mean, it's even back then it was a lot worse. But we definitely my parents kept us inside, right? I wanted to go out all the time, but my mom was like, "Hey, look, you stay your butt inside the house because I don't want you hanging out with nobody that's doing foolish stuff." So I said, "You know what? Like, well, I have these clippers. I know how to cut hair. Let me invite my friends over for the sake of hanging out, not to make money, not to learn how to get better at cutting hair, but for the sake of hanging out." So I asked my mom, "Hey, Mom, if I had my friends come over and I cut their hair because they needed it, but really they didn't, we just wanted to hang out, can I do that?" And she was like, "Yeah, as long as you guys are hanging out in the garage or wherever you're cutting hair, like as long as I know where you guys are at." And bro, like I wasn't cutting hair. I mean, maybe cut here and there, but really, man, like it was just all for the purpose of hanging out, just like how we are here. So I remember it was like 2009, hanging out in the garage, bumping Kanye West Graduation album. So that's what popped it off, bro. And so got into barber school, cutting hair at a barbershop. And one day I realized, like, man, like I love the idea of passive income. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad like everybody else does. Love the idea of passive income. Saved up for my first down payment on a house with my uncle and my dad. And that blew up in front of our faces because of COVID, right? And I knew real fast, like, okay, this is the game I want to get into, which is real estate. But the income I was making as a barber wasn't big income. It wasn't fast, active income. It was slow and steady. So I'm like, okay, how could I do more of this? Right? Because I've proved to myself that, like, okay, this is what I want to do. The game of real estate, managing the project, because between me and my uncle, he was the money guy. I came in because I had construction experience with my pops, managing crews and all that stuff. How can I do more of that? Then I stumbled upon wholesaling real estate. Then I stumbled upon Brent Daniels, TTP, Talk to People at the time, and I started getting into cold calling. Started getting into marketing. I started getting into like direct to seller negotiating. But it was the very act of being resourceful of like, okay, passive income, real estate's going to get me to that. Doing real estate, wholesaling is going to get me into that, because with the time that I've had as a barber, because I didn't have much money, right? I was making money, but it wasn't like big chunks of it. I didn't have any like real estate skills, right? I mean, I did construction management, but I knew real quick that I didn't like swinging hammers and climbing ladders. It just wasn't for me. And like my dad is this go, task oriented individual, right? He was like, hey, I don't care who's sick. I don't care who has cancer, but the job better get done. And I'm over here like, well, dad, like he's sick. Like he's not here. Like, can we make sure he's okay before, like, who cares about the project? Like, let's make sure he's okay. Totally different type of personalities. And other than that, like the physical part it was all the way in the Bay and I didn't want to make that drive. But I knew sales was the avenue that I want to get into, which is like finding opportunity for my pops in construction, which was funny because every time I did find a job in construction, he would go like, okay, cool. We could do the job. Our bid is accepted. But now somebody has to project the deal or somebody has to manage the project. And I'm like, I thought the deal was that I brought the project and you managed it. He's like, nope, you have to. So I stepped away from that world. Then I got into wholesale real estate.
Dude, okay. Dang. You know what's so crazy? As you're sharing that, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, that's right. When we first met, you were doing like the project management work with your dad, and you were trying to figure out like, hey, do we keep doing this? Do I try and scale on this? Because you had a lot of pots on the fire back then. Like when we first started talking, your attention was spread in so many different multiple places. And so I like that you were on that journey of, I want to improve. I know this isn't for me, which I'm going to say right now, I think for the audience members listening, this is one of the most important things to be able to be aware of first is not always, hey, what is for me? Like you didn't necessarily know a few years back that you were going to be doing the high equity pre-foreclosure, but you started to discover, okay, this isn't for me. I know that it's not just barbering. I know it's not just, doing the small, like we'll buy one property every 2 years and collect a few $100s of rental income. And I know it's not like this project management and construction, at least the way my dad's doing it. And all of that stuff starts to put you in direction of knowing what it is for you. In fact, Oprah Winfrey, she was the one that said the best place to be is if you don't know where you want to be, know where you don't want to be. That's actually the perfect position to be in of knowing what you don't want. So you got clear now on, okay, this isn't what I want. And you start joining into the different communities. So like you mentioned TTP with Brent Daniels, which
we figured that out, that we both had been in TTP together. And I mean, it's great. Brent changed my life, which opened up other opportunities to pace and everything else. But yeah, we were hammering the phones, huh, Gerald?
Yeah, it was cold calling mastery.
Hey, y'all built some thick skin from it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, for sure. I was calling Knoxville, Tennessee, and North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. And it was a bunch of these nice, like Southern folks, like, oh, like, they like the conversations was just night and day versus like California tired landlords, Tennessee tired landlords. I'm like, oh man, like this is a pleasant conversation. Like 30 minutes of like, I'm fine. How are you? And in California, what?
Dude, it's different, but you get to, from all of those experiences, you got to see ultimately was working for you. And what's interesting is I remembered when we first started talking, you were at that place where you were doing a lot of cold calling. You were building out your wholesale business. You had a wholesale team, and you guys were spending a lot of money on marketing, right? Because you were pretty fully committed, right? Because you were in the barbering was your main day job. That was your main gig, your active income producer, the most consistent cash flow that you had coming in. But actually, let's talk about this for a minute. You mentioned while you were at the barbershop, one of the things, as much you love cutting hair, like you still cut hair now. It's a passion of yours. It's something you're good at. I can't wait to get my haircut from you. And you mentioned that the conversation that you were having in the shop, it was no longer stimulating. It was, you started to recognize, man, there might be something wrong with this environment, at least based on where I want to go in life. Can you talk about that for a second of like what it was like being in the shop as you yourself were changing?
Well, hang on. I'm not in a barbershop either. So what do you guys talk about in a barbershop?
Yeah. So
he's going for it. Like I saw him thinking, he was thinking.
I'll tell you this. So it's not that it wasn't stimulating, because it's still like there's still some trigger points there, right? Where like what I like to say is it's no longer conducive to my goals. Right. And we've heard all the time, like, the best way to booby trap yourself into success is to change your environment. I mean, I learned that from Marlon, right? And I knew intuitively, like, being at the barbershop was the very comfortable thing that I was doing. That's not going to propel me into the next thing. It was that, okay, if I had to take a leap of faith, what's the thing that I have to prioritize? It's getting out of this environment, right? So it wasn't that, and I had screwed up, right? I was at the time, you know, like right after working at the barbershop, I would go in, you know, have these long walks with my wife, and I would tell her, like, man, like, this was said to me, this is what had happened. And then, you know, she would just make sure, like, hey, like, are you sure? Like, it's not them. It's not the external. It's not so much what is said to you. It's like, how is your reaction to it? Like, how is your response to it? And it took my thick skull to finally, you know, receive that and accept that. I was like, man, it isn't things outside of me, right? It was the thing that was that I was feeling inside about, you know, how I reacted to it. And quite frankly, like, it was difficult for me to transition out of that mindset, because at the end of the day, it's identifying with what's been said. It's identifying with my own thoughts. It's identifying with, you know, like, what title or status that I have. Right. So I really had to die to myself.
So I love that. So, and you know, you just hit the nail on a couple of things, right? Where you recognize the barbershop was no longer conducive to your goals. And we do this often where we get familiar, right? Like, I'm familiar with my job. I'm familiar with my friends that I grew up with from high school. I'm familiar with my neighborhood. And so we get caught up in this routine, but then looking at that routine, that environment, what's it say about us? It's not helping me. I say I want to grow. I say I want to make more money. I say I want to build this business. I say I want to get in better shape. But then the environment that I'm putting myself in, nothing about that environment requires my growth. Therefore, I'm going to continuously stay at the level that I'm at. And so in the barbershop, not that the barbershop was a bad spot, you're just saying for you, it no longer required you to grow, and you had to effectively step out of that space. Right. And so now fast forward, you're in the TTPs, you're in the real estate world. And a part of that, I remember you told me you partnered up with a few other guys, and because you were fully committed and you're an all-in type of person, you guys went out and you started paying for marketing, and you started paying for lead generation, and you guys were doing like a nationwide campaign for wholesale real estate. Talk to me about that season of life of doing that, because that's around when I met you after you'd been doing that for a few months. I think you were doing that for maybe like 7-8 months. And then I was introduced to you. Kind of talk to me about those first few months of going out there, dropping the money on PPC, PPL, being nationwide. How is that working for y'all?
It worked well until it didn't. And what it exposed was I sucked at sales. Like, we spent all this money, and I realized, like, with all these deals coming in, the pipeline being filled, the speed to lead model, as soon as it rang, I'd have to pick up, and it'd be like 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm out for my morning jogs. I get this lead that came in, and I'm like, well, I got to take it. This is my shift, because there's 3 of us and we all had shifts. It worked.
Wait, bro. You took the 5 a.m. shift.
Yeah. Well, I mean, East Coast, right? We had freaking leads coming in.
Why did you have to take that shift, though? Were you still working your W-2 while you were doing this?
No. So I got out of the barbershop in 2022. I had to take that leap. I was deathly afraid of, like, okay, clients are going to continue to follow me, because I was still cutting hair in the garage. So I wasn't entirely cut it off. But again, it was removing myself from that environment. So I've done that. Then I got into the partnership, And then we all thought that, okay, let's start paying for leads, because we're doing the cold calling. I was doing a bunch of probate leads. Didn't do a deal. We were just cold calling a bunch of probate leads. And then that's when we started getting into paid leads. Now the paid leads was this, I seen it as this like this vast machine that just kept on pumping leads with no end in mind. There was no end in mind into it. And Marlon really helped me out was he asked me the question like, hey, Gerald, do you see yourself being the best nationwide wholesaler? And, I really had to think about it without being politically correct. I was like, no, not really. Like, I don't see that for me. Like, I don't have that. I don't feel led to become this huge nationwide wholesaler.
Mm-hmm.
And the type of marketing we're doing, which was Facebook ads, worked really well with nationwide marketing, right? I mean, we could really hyper focus on that one market with Facebook ads, but it just doesn't work that way. Right? And I'm pretty sure the landscape had changed with, Facebook ads or just, PPL type of marketing. I mean, PPC. But at that time, and shout out to my marketing agency. They were great people. There was nothing against them. It was really more so the cost per contract, right? And the cash conversion cycle.
Yeah.
We want to make a whole bunch of money, but we were led into this fallacy that like, oh, you paid for these high motivated leads.
Yep.
that there was if you aren't good at closing deals, like you're spending so much money. You're spending.
Well, not only that, Gerald, I've been there too, because you're spending all of this money on these leads that they're telling you they're very high motivated and they're targeted, but everybody's getting access to this. This is the dangerous part. And this is why you want to be first one to answer it. So that's why Marlon was laughing. You're answering the 5 a.m. shift. I thought you were doing it because you still had to work in the afternoon. You're like, this is my free time to be able to make those calls. But when you have specifically an inbound lead, you're probably, what were you spending per contract on that? Was it probably $500 to $1,000 per lead?
So I knew we were spending like $5,000 a month.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
And you don't want to, every time you're not picking up the phone, you're burning money. And it even hurts. This is something that we've been doing in my business. And you've heard me talk about this. Like, I want to make sure that we have the infrastructure to be able to handle the Ferrari engine we're going to throw into it. So even though you're getting all of these leads coming in, but you're not good at converting, you're not good at sales, you're burning that money up because you're having them coming in and you don't know how to ask the right questions. You don't know how to serve them at the highest level. And then you're just like, man, I am spending the money, but I don't know how to complete this. And now you're probably beating yourself up a little bit, I would assume.
Yes. And the biggest point to that too is what you just said was the proper infrastructure. Because we're getting leads from, again, Timbuktu in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. There's no huge activity there, right? You don't have relationships with handyman or boots on the ground or agents. So that needs to be a built out process in itself. And I think people do that, right? They build processes there. You have to have a solid dispo process. You have to have your numbers. You got to, really know your numbers. I believe across the board, it's every 12 leads that come in becomes a contract. Okay. But now you're got to consider your conversion, right? How many contracts does it take to get one deal done? Right. And we had it was like 50% conversion rate, really.
And also it becomes hard to predict the spread because you're no longer in the same market with the same ARVs. You can get a deal where a highly motivated seller, you could get it under contract, you could even find the buyer. But then because the ARV brought you into a place where the property is only worth $110,000, all fixed up, you're making a $5,000 spread, a $4,000 spread. And then you've got business partners to split that money with, because that was like the tough thing when I first met you. The tough thing about you was you were having a bit of success. You were talking to motivated homeowners because you were paying for these leads. Shout out to your marketing team. They were doing a good job. So they were putting motivated people in front of you. You were having the conversations, but I remembered some of your deal spreads, they weren't as large. And because you had such a heavy marketing cost, your margins were very tight, especially after doing the spread between 3 business partners. You know, you're looking at in a scenario where, let's say you close a $10,000 deal. Well, immediately 5,000 goes right back into the business for marketing. So now we're talking about $5,000 left to split between 3 adults who have families and kids to look after. Each person's walking home with maybe $1,800. It's like, that's not, it's a lot of work for not a lot of squeeze, where it's like, man, you're at that point better off just going back to the barbershop where you can make the money more consistently without having to stress of, I got to take these calls. I'm constantly on call all hours of the day. And, you know, to your point earlier, the conversation we had about, well, Gerald, do you want to become the best nationwide wholesaler with this massive organization and you're having to be in all these different markets? And you're like, no. And I was like, all right, well, then your actions and your goal, your destination, they're not in alignment right now. Like the actions you're taking right now aren't actually in alignment with where you say you want to be.
That's true. Yeah, that's correct. And to add on to that, you have 3 visionaries with no sales system, and we're all wanting to do different things.
I have a really good idea. Hey, no. I have a really good idea.
We approach these sales calls, and it was such a mess, and I just felt, man, we got to turn this off.
Yeah. But you know what I like about this mess is, again, it comes back to that Oprah Winfrey saying where you were new, and because you got to experience it, and you got to see, hey, this isn't battery died on that. You got to see that this isn't for me. You then got to say, okay, I now have contrast to know this wasn't working. Let me do something better. So, all right. So you're at that place where you're spread out all about. In fact, just out of curiosity, do you remember on average, like when you were doing this, you know, paying for PPLs, costing you $5,000 a month, and you're doing this for several months, what were you guys making about ballpark? I know you guys weren't keeping as good of records that you keep now, but do you remember kind of like what your ballpark numbers were during that time? Like on average, how much you made gross per month, and how much of that did you actually get to take home?
So gross per month, we were making about 45.
Okay.
And take home, oh gosh, I mean,
we're asking a visionary to know their numbers really quickly.
Yeah. Here's the thing, right? We had 3 of us, and we've generated gross 300K in that 1 month, or sorry, in that 1 year.
Oh, so you didn't tell me that.
In that 1 year, right? 300K for 3 people, pumping $5,000 a month.
Yep.
Now, this whole entire year focused on pre-foreclosures between me and my partner. Now there's only 2 of us, the same amount income generated, only spending about $1,000 a month.
I would say those margins make that's a big difference.
That's 100 and 150x. I mean, I don't know. But
we're talking the difference between spending $60,000 a year in marketing to now $12,000 a year in marketing.
Yes. And let's not even talk about just the marketing. How much time are you spending on this compared to before? Because you're probably scrambling at all hours. I can't miss this call. I'm really anxious. I need to take time away from my family. And we already know this. We had to reschedule this a few times. Our time is now different. You were busy getting awarded at your church this weekend. You're spending more time with your kids. Like I've been seeing you
having more kids.
You said you're like your Thanksgiving party, you have Christmas stuff going on. You're now able to spend intentional time with your family, probably not worrying about the bills and the business, because you now have something that's predictable, right?
Yeah.
Less hours in.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's predictable. I'm purpose driven at this point. Like there's so much going on for me that I absolutely love to bolt this on into my life, and I can. And there were some things last year where I was like such in reactivity mode, right? I was just reacting to things that are like, okay, that's a fire that I got to put out, but that's, man, like, do I want to continue putting out those type of fires?
Yeah,
absolutely not. I mean, I'd rather focus on people than the task itself, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm task driven to some extent, obviously with, money making activities. But if it's one thing that I know I excel at, it's, nurturing of people and bringing people into the circle and including them and getting them off, getting them on their way to like doing deals.
Well, let's talk about another thing. So you found, this is just really cool. You found me, and then from finding me, I somehow introduced you to Marlon, and then you saw me talking, and you saw me being busy in my business, but I don't do one-on-one coaching. Then you fell into Marlon's bucket for one-on-one coaching, and then Marlon brought you back over into my world to listen to me. And now, at least I know you and I've had this conversation before, but you're good at nurturing. You're very good at talking to people. Now you're talking to homeowners that need help. You're talking to some of the most motivated people who need help. And sometimes, Gerald, you know this because we do it all the time. We don't always buy houses. Right now, I've been paying attention. You've been doing really good on social media. I don't know if anybody has not seen his Instagram lately, he's been giving tips on how to stop foreclosures. And this is something we've talked about a lot. One question I get is, well, Caroline, if you're helping people stop foreclosures and stay in their home, how do you make money? And it's like, well, sometimes we don't, guys. And that's the name of the game. It's purpose driven.
Yep.
It's awesome because we get to help families that are going through the hardest times of their lives right now, when they're struggling, they're overwhelmed, they don't know who they can talk to, who to trust, and what they can do. You're helping people stay. And those few that are inheriting homes, like we just did a deal where a daughter inherited the home from their parents and she had a special needs brother in the home. We were able to put $400,000 in her pocket net. She was able to walk away with $400,000 and get into the next chapter of her life. And I say all of that because we don't always make money, but we get the emotional income and we get to help somebody in the next chapter of their lives. And maybe they will refer us to somebody else, which helps this business keep pushing forward and opens up more opportunities for you. So we're very targeted, we're nurturing, and now you're not dealing with deals in the middle of Timbuktu. I mean, what markets are you dealing with right now, Gerald?
I'm in all of NorCal.
All of North. So you're only in California now.
I'm only in California.
So he's in less markets. You're more focused on your time.
Yes.
You're making more money in a shorter period of time because you took things away.
And you're only focused on one exit strategy, right? Because when you're with your partners, a part of those exit strategies, you guys were innovation, wholesaling, fixing, flipping. Like you guys were literally, you guys had like 5 businesses in one, and not like in a good way. Like it was like we got 3 visionaries running 5 different businesses.
Yeah, and we all had great ideas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you're more concentrated. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I would say to Caroline's point, it's that whole analogy that Marlon you've told me, and I'm like, man, I'm running with that forever now. It's better to go a mile deep and an inch wide than a mile wide and an inch deep.
Yep.
And to explain that in terms of like your marketing, nationwide, you could be all over the place marketing a bunch of direct to seller, whether that's pre-foreclosure, divorce, back taxes. But then when it comes down to actually doing the deal, you're scrambling, trying to find all these resources, the buyers, the boots on the ground, and success loves speed, right? And when you're doing these deals, you gotta go fast. You gotta take action. But what's better than success loving speed is direction, right? It's direction is way, way better than speed. And so the direction that I knew I had to take it was, okay, let's focus on our hyper localized market, going a mile deep, which is gaining building the infrastructure, building that foundation, nurturing the agents, the boots on the ground, the other wholesalers, right? Because we're partnering with other wholesalers in our NorCal group out here with Miguel and our guy CJ and his girlfriend Jerica, and we're building this thing where it's like a it's a NorCal sub 2 meetup, but we're focused on our hyper localized market, right? And if it wasn't for that conversation, that hard talk that you gave me, Marlon, with, hey, if you don't turn this off, you're going to end up in that path where you never wanted to be. So we constantly got to think about what's the end in mind. Is being this wholesaler that's nationwide the end in mind, or being a purpose-driven, focus on your community, focus on your markets, focus on the people who want to do deals with you in your market is that much more important. And that was a no-brainer.
Well, I know you're going to ask something, but my question for you, and this is for me as well in my business, I don't want to be a wholesaler forever. This is just a means to get out of whatever situation you're in to open up more opportunities. It's an influx of capital to your business and it creates more opportunities. So I'm guessing you don't want to wholesale forever as well. Is that fair to say, Gerald?
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Who said it, who hit it on the head the best way that I could receive it was Jerry Norton. He says getting into real estate, it's developmental, right? You either become an agent, then you become, whatever direction you take it, flipper,
Broker,
developer,
yeah.
buy and hold,
Mhm.
or a wholesaler where you take it to being a flipper and then a buy and hold or developer. I seen it as like, okay, well, that's that first step. How can we get on to the next one? But what you would learn, what I've learned as a wholesaler was you learned real estate transactions. You learn how to talk with homeowners. You learn how to negotiate deals. You learn how to run your numbers, right? Everything that has to do with single family, you learn within that realm that you could take it up to the next one. One of my favorite, I told you this time and time again, Marlon, one of my favorite scriptures is Luke 16:10. When you're faithful with the little, you will be faithful with bigger responsibilities.
Yep.
Right. And so with that, it's stewardship. It's just being a good steward of what you're given, what God is granting us. And so this opportunity to serve these homeowners I will be granted more opportunity. Right. And I trust in that. I have faith in it.
So I love that because, and that's a bar, right? Like, guys, like what you do with the little will determine if you're given the lot. And we say it in like just layman's terms, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And when people look and say, well, this is the insignificant part of what I'm doing, this part doesn't matter. It does, because it's the stepping stone to lead you to that next position. And also the fact that you're saying this, and I want to highlight this, you're talking about building a business that's for purpose. And I want to highlight this right now because a lot of people are going to hear this. And I know our audience, like a lot of our audience, phenomenal Christian community. A lot of them are givers. A lot of them want to go out and do things for purpose. However, they don't think about creating profit along the way. And I want people to understand that for purpose does not mean that it's not for profit, and for profit does not mean that it cannot be for purpose. I actually believe in there's the nonprofit business model, there's for-profit business model, and I believe in the for-purpose business model, which means you're serving at a higher level. You're serving intrinsically, you're getting value in your heart, like you're getting emotional currency along with actual currency. And it's important to go for problems that are high margin problems where you can earn a lot, as well as help people in a very impactful way. Because if you can't make money, the reality is, like, Gerald, you're growing. And as a result of your growth, what's happening now? You're starting to affect other people inside the community. Every time you do a deal, a real estate agent makes money, a title company makes money, the homeowners make money. Like, homeowners literally are getting out of the worst situation in their life. But now, because you're consistently growing, you're inspiring others, new investors getting into the space local to your California market. I mean, I saw you the other day, you were taking people out door knocking and you're showing them and saying like, hey, you can do this too. And you don't need to be afraid about following and doing this, because it's going to help someone else and you will be able to make enough money that your wife, your husband isn't looking at you and saying you're wasting time. Stop playing with that real estate thing and go back to your real job. I'd like that needs to be highlighted, because I need the people in the audience to realize that you can both be a good person and help people at the highest level. Right, like I'm sitting next to Caroline. This is literally what she does. Gerald, we're talking to you for a reason. Like, you help people at the highest level going through the lowest points in their lives. Mm-hmm. And you're also able to make money. And even on the deals where you don't, like last week, you stopped 4 auctions and no money was made on those 4 auctions being stopped. However, lives were affected. Mm-hmm. Lives were affected in a positive manner, in a positive way. And so, Gerald, I did see a question in the side chat, and if you got a question, bring it in a second. But someone asked, while you were going through this, because you made a transition, right? You and we had that conversation, and we realized, hey, the nationwide thing isn't the thing that's in alignment with you. It doesn't serve the purpose at the level. It doesn't get you to where you say you want to go. And so we had a conversation about you need to drop that entirely, cut it off. I want you to plug back in with Caroline. You already know Caroline. Plug back in with her. Follow that blueprint and make that work. And when that meant a rift happened with the business partnership, how scary was that to have that conversation with partners where you're saying, hey guys, I know what we have has been working to a degree. Mm-hmm. We've made money, but I feel called to go a separate way. What was that like, having that conversation?
One, it was a lot of convincing, because the constant flow of inbound leads was like an addiction.
Oh, this is gonna be one. This is gonna be the one.
It was like an addiction. oh, hey, we got something from Florida. We got something from Ohio, Cleveland. Call it now. Call it now.
We got a
And
motivated homeowner. We paid for this.
Wow.
it was that rush. It was like this. You know, we get into real estate to get out of the rat race. This type of inbound lead flow was like the rat race.
The rat race on steroids. It's a rat race that starts before 9 a.m. and goes after 5 p.m.
And shout out to one of my best friends, EJ. Right, he helped me through this kind of hard, because he knew all of us that were partnered in this one thing, but he was outside of it, right? And he used to call for me, and he started doing his own thing. But he was one of the few people that I would talk to, and he would kind of just, you know, let me know, like, hey, dude, like, that's exactly what you're doing, is like, you guys are on this hamster wheel of getting these leads, and you could do this one lead, or you could do this one deal, and then you close it, and then there's no true reward besides, like, okay, the income from it. And, you know, granted, I was doing the profit first, so I was taking home money for my family first. That was the most important thing to me, but that was the only thing, though. It was like, okay, we weren't building a real system. We weren't giving back to, you know, other people that, you know, like you mentioned, the agents, homeowners. I mean, if anything, those homeowners, we were getting over on them, because there was no, like, how we treat these pre-foreclosure homeowners. We want them to get paid more than we do, right? And if we don't get paid and they get paid, that's fine too, right? And so there was no value there, besides we're making money off of this hamster wheel, right? So the riff there was like finally turning it off after putting, okay, this is what we're trying to get to. This is what we currently have. And it was just night and day, like, okay, let's cut this off. But how are we going to have this conversation? I told them in the beginning of 2024, coming into January, I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna give this 30 days and then I'm gonna turn it off. This isn't, I'm gonna give it 30 days to see how it worked out. And if it does work out, I'll think about turning it off. But no, I straight up said, I'm done with this in 30 days.
I wasn't in on this part. So was he going through coaching with you and you asked him this question, or was this when you were deciding, I'm tired of this, I'm over it, I'm giving it 30 days, I'm going to reach out to Marlon? Where was this in the timeline of everything? Gerald?
Yeah. So I got into coaching with Marlon in September. I was telling him about all this. And then I was sharing a lot of, like, hey, these are some of the concerns I don't feel aligned with. And he was opening me up to the idea of, like, okay, I feel this isn't something that you got to turn this off, introducing you to this. So coming into January, it was like I was already considering it.
Of 25. So this is more of, because I get to hear different coaching aspects. I hang around him a lot. One of the things that you've helped me realize a ton, and this is why I love introducing, this is why I bring him onto my YouTube and I add him into all of my things, because we have more addition by subtraction. And the cool thing is, you've said this a few times, and I might butcher this line, but we don't hang out with the people that are where we're at right now. We get closer to the people that are near the goals that we want. And Marlon has already had a successful real estate business. I've seen you make lots of money in a very short period of time. And you already know what it's like getting your, teeth kicked in. We've already done all the cold calling. We've already done all the pulling the wrong list. So you were able to find somebody who'd been where you wanted to go and was collaborating with people that are currently actively doing deals in this market as it's changing. So when you're looking at people like Gerald, Marlon, and you have a new high performance client come in that's getting coaching, when you see what he's doing, how did you decide on telling him what to take out? How did you decide what to take away that wasn't benefiting him?
Yeah. So, and Gerald, you probably remember this, right? Where what we did, this is one of the interesting things. It starts with knowing what you want, right? And Gerald, you and I had a very deep conversation. In fact, you and I, before we even started the coaching, I do like an onboarding call where it's usually like an hour or two of me just peppering you with questions. So like you and I, we sat down and I really got to know who you were, what motivated you, what your childhood was like, all those things, just to get a better understanding of who I'm working with. And from there,
the time where I lied to you about I had to talk to my wife.
Yeah. No, that was before. That was when you were on the fence of getting in. After you lied to me and you got on in, that's where you opened up and you started telling me the truth. And it's funny, Gerald, actually, I was recently rewatching our conversation, which you should go back and rewatch that first conversation that you and I have. You have that recording. I was going through and listening to everything you were saying about what you wanted from life and what you wanted, like how the level of significance, the contribution you wanted to give. And based on everything you were describing and based on the actions you were taking, that's where it was like, it wasn't even me saying like, Gerald, you're right or wrong. It was like, Gerald, these things aren't in alignment. You're saying you want this, but your actions are taking you this direction. Your words say you want to go in this direction. Those two things don't match. And so I become a mirror that's able to say and reflect back to you, like, Gerald, based on what you're telling me, like you're telling me this, then ultimately it means that everything that isn't this is a distraction. Everything that is not the thing you're saying you want has to go. And that's the hard part for people, where we feel like, well, I want to have this life, but also hold on to the old life. And we had that conversation about like, how many things can you focus on? You can only actually focus on one thing. You could only become one thing. And so if those two things are not in alignment, one has to go. And that was a tough conversation for you. It was a tough conversation for me. It was a tough action for you to commit to.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, sometimes we know it's necessary. We talked about this, but we already know that a change needs to happen. We just don't want to do it. And it might be just paying somebody to say, I can see all of the pieces. What do you suggest, person who's been in my shoes before? So I'm guessing that's probably why you reached out to Marlon, because you saw results. And then it was more of a, can you point me in the right direction? Did he point out blind spots that you didn't know existed, Gerald?
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
You're like, thanks. I'm glad I'm paying for you. Also, this is not the answer I wanted, though. Tell me to keep doing what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, plenty of calls where I'm just like, man, I'm sweating over here telling the truth. And like he's opening me up like a cracked egg, and I'm like, man, this is exactly what I needed, right? And by all means, man, Marlon, you introduced me to a lot self-development. I mean, not just from the books that I was reading to what I know getting into the coaching calls. It's like, man, I thought I knew how to really work on myself, but there's very little that I've made progress with. It isn't until you get somebody else that's telling you like, hey, like this is what you're saying, but you're not in alignment, and then throwing it at me like, hey man, I call BS. Like, how many calls did we have where you straight up told me like, hey dude, I call BS?
Yeah, well, that's the powerful thing, right? Like, and this is where having the alignment, and this is funny, right? Because once you start to get into alignment, what did I say? I said, okay, remember our crafting for kings conversation? Right? Yeah. Okay, like you're going to craft. And for anyone that doesn't know that reference, crafting for kings is something that I teach and I talk about, where effectively once you start to establish, this is what my goal is, this is what I want to do, you then look for, well, who in my space, like who out there in the world is doing what I want to do at the highest level? And we looked at it, we're like, oh, that fiery ginger, Caroline. Like, she's based on what you're describing, the impact you want to have, the money you want to make. It's like, great. Caroline has the model. She has the roadmap for what. And so I said, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to craft for the king, which means we are now going to position ourselves to impress the person who is in charge of the area that we want to be in, that domain. Because I know if I can go and impress the king or the queen in this matter, right? The queen, if she is impressed by my work, what is she going to do? She is going to now speak it out loud to the masses. And whatever is good for the queen, the people already want. Because a lot of people are crafting for lack of better terms, the peasants, their friends. They're crafting for their friends' opinion, their family's opinion. But the problem is your family doesn't have any influence over your success. Not really. Go and find the people who can elevate you and put you on and put you up. And so then you started to do that well. And what's funny is Caroline's the same type of way. Like how you mentioned that we would have some hard conversations about you telling me, well, this is what I was doing. It's like, all right, well, here are the facts. You do the exact same thing. You're like, all right, where are the KPIs? Where are the receipts? Give me the proof of action. Give me the proof of work, because now you know what to do, but now prove to me that you did what you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you were able to have that combination between the two. And so ultimately this all, like, once you jumped into coaching, once you started hanging out with me and Caroline, instantly, like day one, your life just immediately got better, right?
Well, no, I mean, it was.
Oh, what?
Well, it's still the
thing I
time.
really had to learn was like, okay, there was a lot of things that I'm doing that I'm thinking like, okay, this is the momentum I thought was building, But it was like, no, it's this hamster wheel, right? And then I see these, I see you and Caroline. I'm like, okay, they're actually making money. They're actually making, progress. They're actually impacting other people's lives, right? And I could continue my old ways, right? Or I could, again, die to myself, get rid of that, what I think I need, and surrender all that I have to then go in the direction where I know, like, hey, this is conducive to what I'm trying to build here, what I'm feeling called to do.
That's so good. I appreciate, I love that. I want to, because there was some good questions. And Gerald, like, people are, I don't know if you've been seeing the side chat. I don't know if you can see the side chat.
No, I don't. But when you pop it up like that, I see it.
Dude, people have been like inspired by what you're saying. Like, I'm watching the side chat go crazy. And this is Jerry Guzman.
This is another one this is Gerald 1.0. This is Jerry, who actually kind of did the same thing as you, started copying off of me, and then has left his job last year. So now he's up in New York doing this, but he loves this. He's like, Gerald, was there a point where you thought, hey, I don't think this is for me? And if you did, what helped you get past that point? So when, I'm not sure, this is earlier on when we started talking, I'm guessing when you probably started doing pre-foreclosures, because it was like Marlon just said, you didn't instantly make $300,000 and help stop hundreds of auctions in the first week of working with us. So when have you ever thought about quitting? Because I definitely have. I've come to Marlon sometimes like, oh my gosh, this is hard. And what has helped you when you've thought about quitting?
Yeah. So, I like the way he asked this question, right? Because what I think about the most is, Marlon says this all the time, is invest in long-term people, right? And I believe in the circumstance that I was in, the people that I was invested in made me compromise my character. I knew, because of the small, the behavior, the things that I would have, the things I'd say, these white lies, that's when I knew, like, okay, like, I don't think this is for me. Not that it was real estate or the wholesaling activity in itself, but more so the direction we were going as a whole. And I had to walk that narrow path, open that door and say, hey, look, this is going to stop here. We're going to be built on principle, and we're going to build a more firm foundation. Because if we're going to continue this path, this direction of having to create these white lies, whether that's lying to homeowners, lying to agents, or lying just to get up, right? Or just push the next man down just to come up. That was when I started to, like, I did not want to compromise my character. I did not want to compromise my character. So that was when I had to change. That was when I was past that point.
Gotcha. And then, okay, I like that. So you didn't want to do what was happening before. Now I'm going to double dip this question though. Has there ever been a point when you've been helping homeowners in pre-foreclosures where you thought, hey, I don't think this is for me. This is harder. Like, because I know when I first started, I didn't have the sales skills I have now. I have continuously, I've gone to Marlon's mastermind. I've gone to different masterminds that help me understand, like, sales is a service. It's actually, you've been a part of this conversation, Gerald. I've had this a lot in the last few weeks with Marlon, because we've been dealing with people that don't have the integrity that we do. And if we are not selling and helping people because we're like, well, they're just not ready, somebody else is going to come up behind us that might not have the same intentions as us, and they are taking advantage of family. I just saw your face. Like, you've seen it happen before where we didn't push and somebody else came over and took advantage of somebody in a really tough time. And it just breaks my heart. So have you ever had a time where you thought, and it could be at the very beginning of helping families that are struggling, or where you are now where I don't think this is for me? And what have you done? Have you interacted with, maybe pulled Marlon aside for some one-on-one talking? Do you talk to your wife? Like, what's helped you in those situations? And while he's thinking of that, guys, he's supposed to be, we changed all of these things around this morning. I know you're in the middle of he's got a team huddle, and we said, let Eric try and run it. My favorite thing is, hey, go figure it out on your own and see what happens. So, like, I've given Lindsay and my team the permission to go mess up and learn. And Gerald's taken time away from his business to come on here and help. Like, he's listening to something else. He's taken time away from his team to jump in here and give back, because this is what happened to him. He saw us on YouTube. He saw us marketing. So you guys could get an advantage, and you want to share this so more people could find what they are passionate about and get into it. So thank you for taking time away from your team huddle. I hope Eric is running well on it.
Yeah, no, I just opened it up for him. So I made him host. So
there you go. Perfect.
Gosh. I mean, first and foremost, I have to, I used to like, and people would always tell me like, man, Gerald, you're so intuitive, right? Like you're so intuitive. You just know the right words, the right way, you know, the right things to say. But it's not for me, you know, first and foremost, guys, you know, and I just want to say that there. It's definitely from just having that faith that I'm taken care of. So I have to seek counsel and not lean on my own understanding and lean on others who's done it in the past. And I reach out to the Marlins, right? I reach out to some other brothers who, you know, I consider my godly brothers, right? I talk to my wife, right? Because this impacts her a ton. But I most importantly, I don't want to lean on my own understanding like I've done in the past, because that's only gotten me so far.
That's a bar. I'm writing that down. I would say that again. I don't want to lean on my own understanding.
Yeah, I don't want to lean on my own understanding because it's only I forgot what I said. And it's only gotten me so far, and it hadn't produced the fruits that it hadn't produced the right fruits, right? So how can I get on a direction that bears more fruits for everyone else, whoever I'm working with, for my team, for my family, right? And just to kind of tie it back to your question, which was, you know, how do you overall, is it like, how do you make decisions? Is that what you're kind of ultimately questioning? Yeah. So it's just tying back to my faith, tying it back to like, okay, who around me already has what I am, you know, searching for, the answers, and just moving forward with faith, you know, just operating in faith, and just knowing that Marlon had once told me, when the bird is on the branch, does it rely on the branch that when it breaks, that, you know, he had, you say it best, man, the bird has its wings and it's relying on its wings, right? Yep. And so why do we operate in this fear that when the branch breaks, you know, we think that it's just the end of the world, but it's not.
Does it trust the branch or does it trust its wings?
Yeah. Exactly. That's huge. And, you know, I love, Gerald, like where you're like, hey, you know what? Don't lean on my own understanding. I love the people in the side chat like, man, that sounds like a good book I read. I'm like, it sounds like the best book I've ever read. You know, it's lean not on your own understanding. You get around other people. You go and you plug into community. You plugged in. Like what I love is you still very actively, like every week I get to see you. We do coaching every single week. But even on top of that, you're inside of the Millionaire Mindset community. You're on the morning calls and you're inside, and you get to see inside the space how people are leaning on each other. And they're like, hey, can you help me out with this? You're there when we're doing the live seller calls. You will come in and you'll be making your calls and follow-ups with your homeowners at the same time. And so you get inside of a room of other people who are also, it's like, okay, great. These people are learning not to lean on their own understanding as well. Yeah. Not trying to, I say it all the time. Like, I don't believe entrepreneurship is a solo sport. I believe there are aspects of it where an individual has to go and work on themselves, but you work on yourself so that you could come back and be a part of team. You could be a part of community. And I think that for every aspect of life, I don't think life is a solo sport. There are parts that are meant to, yes, you have to go and play on your own, but you play on your own so that you can plug back in with team. You know, and actually because of that, Gerald, I'm inviting everybody that's watching this to be a part of our community, be a part of Millionaire Mindset community. And what I'm doing is you know this, Gerald, and the people who are already on here already know that recently we had raised the price of the MMC to $250 a month, but I'm doing the Gerald special. Today we're doing the Gerald special where I'm keeping it at $100 a month, and people are going to get a 7-day free trial if they join inside today. So I'm putting that side chat in the side link where I want people to be able to jump in there, because ultimately being around like-minded people, being around people like you're doing this. And I want to give a huge shout out to you, Gerald. Actually, I don't think I've said this yet. Major shout out to you, because in California, talking about living in purpose, you make it a point where you take time from your day, from your family, from your business to go and host these meetups now out there, to take people and show them how to door knock, to hold their hand as they're navigating the transition into entrepreneurship. And they're no longer having to lean on their understanding. They're saying, look, I know Gerald has experience. I've seen that he's closed deals, that he's helped homeowners, that he's partnered up with, he works with Caroline, he's got a direct plug, like he's got all these things. And now they can trust when you say, hey, do this action and I'll be there to support you. You're now helping people cross the finish line and really get started in the business as well.
Because you have the proof too. You have the HUDs. If I asked you for a HUD, could you show me a HUD that you were a part of where you had a deal done? Could you prove like you believed in me? Because Marlon, one, you had the truth that Marlon believed in me, but I had the receipts to back it up.
Hey, well, here's the fun thing. I don't have to believe in Caroline. Like I don't have to believe in Gerald anymore because you guys literally can show me proof now. You can show me evidence, right? Like, so it's like, it's so easy for me to say like, hey, like guys, go listen to Caroline. It's so easy for me to say, like, I love Elevate. Like I don't elevate a lot of people anymore because quite frankly, I'm skeptical of most people that with the internet nowadays, everybody has claims. Everyone says they could do this and do that. And so it's like, I trust people that have high integrity.
Yeah.
Gerald's one, like you are one of those high integrity human beings. And what do I consider integrity? Integrity is a person where their words and actions match. That what you say is what you do and what you do is what you say. And you are very high on the integrity spectrum because over the last several months, I've gotten to watch you follow through on the promises that you make to yourself and to other people. I've seen Caroline follow through and I have the evidence of your guys' follow through. Like the fact that you're clearing over $300,000 this year in revenue for your business, that's not by accident. That's because it was a clear plan. You trusted the process and you stuck to the process.
And you've been intentional.
Yeah.
Been very intentional. We were just, again, talking about you when we went for a little walk. Marlon and I have to take little breaks in the day because we sit down so much. And we just like, I said, why do you talk about Gerald so much more than me, Marlon? No, I didn't say that. I was like, we were talking about you, Gerald. And one of the comments you made, you were one of his favorite clients he's coached. You're one of his best, like you're a friend now too, dude. That's the cool thing. Cause you pay, like I pay to be in masterminds to make friends. You're getting around other people and you find out who you align with. But one of the things he said about you, and you probably have already heard this, Gerald, he doesn't have to remind you that much. You were so intentional. You have already made this. This has been, I can look at his background. Look at what's happening behind you. Like Gerald, where are we, dude? Like you have been his easiest person to coach because you take it very seriously. And we can already see everybody. If you look, you're taking notes. I don't even know what's on your desk below you, but I've been taking notes while I do everything. What do we have? Where are we? And what is this place?
In Casa de Donaire.
This is my garage. 2 walls. I built 2 walls like this. My cousin was like, hey, man, I'll build it for you. I had this old 1996 Ford Ranger. And I was like, hey, bro, I'll give you that Ford Ranger because you really want it for this room. He was like, deal. I'm like, hey, that's it. But now I'm carless. But me and my wife, we sure want to. But we are on the way. We are on the way, you guys.
You know what's cool too? Now you're carless and you're on the way. I'm guessing now you guys have 1 car to share as a family, right? Not 2?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you have 1 car. Marlon and I, so yesterday we had a friend give us his VIP experience for the Cardinals game. Yep. And we got to, you already heard this earlier today, Gerald, but we got to go and experience like Casa de Roja, which is the Red House at the Cardinals Stadium. And everything was included. And we're not big drinkers or big party animals, but we walked down there like, all the drinks you want free. We're like, oh, I got 2 margaritas. I got a spicy and I got a regular. And Marlon got his martini. And then there were crab legs galore. Yeah. And we had, an entire salsa bar. There were tacos, burgers. I mean, everything. And it was delicious. And we had access to that because of our friend group and our opportunity. But it came into when we were sitting there and we were talking, we sat down and we just like looked at it. We're like, one thing, Marlon and I used to care about sports because I had nothing going on in the Midwest. I left my cornfield and I don't really watch sports anymore until the playoffs happened. But we were down there and we're just like, this is the only way to experience a sporting event. Yep. And we talked about it and you made a really good point to me. Sometimes, and actually, I'm really curious if you're watching this live or you're watching it after the fact, you don't know what you're missing if you've never experienced it. And you reminded me of that. Like you didn't even know this portion existed. If you guys ever watch the football games and you look like the 50-yard line seats, you're like, those are the best seats in the house. Why are they empty? Because those people are downstairs partying in the exclusive house, or they're getting all of the best food, the best VIP experience. We saw the employees coming out to the seats and saying, "Oh my gosh, Marlon, it's so good to see you and your family again. Are you guys looking to upgrade to the next level of seats? They're only $100,000 a year, and you're going to get access to hold the sweaty towels of the football players afterwards," or whatever they were saying. But we don't know what we're missing out on until we've experienced it. And one thing I wanted to just say, like, you don't know what you're missing out on if you haven't hung around those people. And you're now friends with us, Gerald. Like, we already told you that we're planning on doing a mastermind. We're thinking of doing it in February, where you're going to have, we've already talked about it's the experience and how do we get to hang out with more people and how are we going to reinvest every dollar that we make this year so it can compound and make us even more. So you guys downsize to one car, but now you have an office space in your home where you're able to maximize the work. I mean, how much money do you think you've made in this room right now that you're sitting in?
Oh gosh.
By getting rid of, and I know a 1996 Ford Ranger, that thing is like priceless. That's a good truck. I can't believe you got rid of that.
You can't kill those. But
no, dude, that's going to run forever. Your cousin's lucky now.
Yeah, well over $500,000. And I haven't even scratched the surface yet.
Dude, so you invested in your future by adding walls to your garage to make an office where you can really focus on what's important to you. You gave your cousin an opportunity to go make more money with a truck. This is how you're reinvesting in yourself.
So good. You added walls and distractions.
Yeah, and just the future pace, right? Like the direction we're going now is, I'm so comfortable in these four walls that now I have to go out and
new level
by helping other people, because it's, and you know, granted, like it's one of those things where the terror barrier that we talked about, right? It's like, okay, things are getting uncomfortable. Let me just go back to cold calling. Let me go back to, you know, doing my follow-ups. It's interesting because one of my good guys out here, you know, he just started doing paid leads, PPL, in our hyper localized market. And, you know, he's getting everybody involved. He's like, "Hey, Joe, do you want to make these calls too?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. Why not? I have a try at it." I did it for 2 days and I got addicted again. And I was like, hold on, stay the path, bro. Stay the path. I had to refocus and be like, all right, guys, you know, take me off of the spreadsheet because I got to go focus on the door knock team. And that's, you know, that's the terror barrier is like when you're getting to that point where it starts to be uncomfortable because it's overwhelming, but really you're growing. There's that point where when you break through that barrier is when you start to make change and you start to really break through. And otherwise, when you are being overwhelmed, a lot of folks that don't see it through, they go back to the very thing that's like, this is comfortable. This is where I'm going to remain. But you push on through a little longer, you will get to the finish line.
I like that you add, and I'm not going to let Marlon talk here for a moment because I'm in a flow state with you. But one thing is you could go back into just cold calling, but you paid a coach to help you elevate higher. And now, you know, it's not the best use of your time cold calling. You're the best. Like, dude, you and me, you've seen me. We're doing like, and even tonight, I think I'm going to do some seller calls. So from 5 to 7 o'clock Arizona time, I'm going to call some more homeowners so we can help them stop the next chapter. But I'm really good at cold calling.
Yeah,
is that the highest and best use of my time though? No, it's me being out here talking to other people, connecting with other trustees, connecting with other lenders and title companies and opportunities where we can have a larger impact. So even the three of us, you had a call. This is the nice thing when you get into coaching with Marlon, I just go on walks with them sometimes. So I jump in on your coaching call, but we talked about one thing that you had with Eric and the whole team. You were tracking KPIs and I have a coach and I talked about what your KPIs were. And you're like, yeah, these are the calls we're tracking. And we realized we had to add one more KPI you weren't measuring. You guys were cold calling and you found like door knocking was a better, nothing is going to top door knocking. Like door knocking is incredible. If you're able to door knock, you're going to kick everybody else's butts. But like nobody on my team's really door knocking right now. We're calling and we have a higher appointment conversion rate than you. So I was asking what's happening in your conversation. So we need to track those calls. So you're getting my experience because you're collaborating with Marlon and I collaborate with Marlon because he helps me stay focused. But we figured out you were tracking your phone calls and the appointments that came from it. And then I think contracts, but we were missing the conversations. I don't actually care about the number of calls my team makes. What I care about is the number of conversations they've had, which filters down into the number of appointments that get set for me or Lindsay, whoever's on my team. And then from that, Lindsay has a KPI. Each week, Lindsay needs to shoot for at minimum 2 contracts a week. So if there's a kink inside of our KPIs, we understand where the misstep is. And from I haven't been able to talk to you since we talked about your KPIs. Now you're tracking conversations to appointments right now, right, Gerald? You're tracking those? Oh no, I think he froze on us.
Oh, we lost
him. Well, while we wait for Gerald to be able to connect back in, that is one of the most important things that I track for my team is not only the conversations that we have, but from not only the calls, like the goal is to have 50 calls a day, but from those calls, we want to shoot on a minimum of 3 conversations a day. And if we're having those 3 conversations, those should convert over into an appointment. From that appointment, we should be able to, one, help a family stay in their home if they're able to afford it. And if not, then immediately go into, can they not stay? What is the next best step for them? Future pacing. Should they stay in the area? Is it better for them? Like I've had families that they're tired of the heat of Arizona. They want to move into the Midwest. So what is the best option for them moving forward? But you don't know what you don't know until you're around those people that are getting access to more deals, easier, frequent deals. If you want to go sit in the Casa Rojas's of the areas, the higher VIP experiences, you don't know what you're missing until you've had that experience with somebody else. So there we go. Gerald's coming back in. So when you guys are in a room like this, or you're thinking of hitting the goals that are important to you, where do you want to be and how do you, like, do you have maybe some kind of quiz, Marlon, somewhere where people can figure out, and I might just be making this up, what they want to accomplish?
I could already tell you're making, I don't have a quiz like that. Not for, no. Short answer, no, I don't have something like that.
So what would you suggest if somebody's like, I know I'm uncomfortable with where I am right now. I don't know what I want, but I want a life that's intentional and purpose driven because that makes me feel full.
Then they would have to do, my first thought is you got to do the clarity workshop that I do.
Okay.
I do a clarity workshop. It's typically something I do with just like my clients, but it's about going through and getting crystal clear on what it is you want to accomplish, what makes sense for you.
But you have that. So if we connected with you, we could figure out what our true goals are.
Yes.
Okay. That's awesome. So that's the way to do it. Gerald, I see you're backstage.
Gerald's frozen.
I think he is still frozen. Maybe we should call him from our phone. I don't want him to miss out on this. I want to ask him how his KPIs were doing.
Yeah, there's a couple of questions. I see new Gerald walking in. So we'll add Gerald.
Oh, you got him. Go ahead. You do it.
So I'm going to add Gerald back in. Here we go. He's back inside here. But also I want to be respectful of Gerald's time because we have a tendency that we could just like keep talking, and I want to be respectful here. So Gerald, there's a couple of questions that came up during the conversation that I want to
Can I just finish my question that he got cut off on?
Oh, sure.
So since you've been tracking those KPIs, Gerald, have you noticed a difference of the conversations to appointments? Have you been able to figure out where the disconnect is?
Yes, it's the confirming the appointment and the appointment set, right? Or the upfront contract when setting the appointment.
Okay.
And so we want to be able to prepare them for what the appointment will be like, and that's the upfront contract is letting them know, okay, hey, this is what the call will look like. This is how success will look like, and if it doesn't seem like a good fit, then we can get off the phone call. We just want to give it our best shot. So it's just preparing them for what it looks like and letting down that sales wall, so that when we call them again, they know exactly what they're getting into. But prior to calling, or let's say we have an appointment tomorrow at 9, just shooting a text an hour before, 30 minutes before.
Confirming it.
Yeah, confirming it. Maybe even a third-party story like, hey, we just helped somebody. His name is Donaire, stop his foreclosure. We push it out to another week. Just want to make sure you're still good for the appointment.
But so from tracking that one extra KPI, or really just realizing we weren't focused enough on those, have you seen the conversion rate go up? Have you seen more appointments being set and met?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So just a small tweak of being able to talk to somebody who's in the position you guys want to be in, it helps you convert. Have you been able to maybe get a contract just because we just changed that, like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, where we talked about it? Have you gotten a contract from that change?
You know what? So no, not from that change. No, not from that change. We did get a contract from door knocking with other people. But it was one of those things where the homeowner, she didn't want to sell. She had to file bankruptcy. And my gut instinct was like, hey, go door knock her again, talk to the brother. And the brother says, yeah, we never went through the bankruptcy because we can't afford it. So we have to sell, or we're going into foreclosure. Luckily, it was 2 weeks before. We thought we had to do a probate, but we learned the homeowner was still on deed. So we got it through, and we should be closing that one this week.
Heck yeah.
Just because I had that hunch of like, go door knocking.
Well, you learn to trust your intuition. Now, like I said, I can keep talking to you all day long, but I do want to be very respectful. I know this was a last minute ask and request, so I appreciate you taking time to be here this morning. I appreciate you. Just you are very flexible with your time and schedule to be here. So I want to be respectful of that. So there's some questions in the side chat that had been asked, and these are towards you, Gerald. So Ish out of Denver, he says, blessings from Denver, Colorado. How do you handle the emotional aspect of working with clients in distress? Because we're talking to people sometimes at the lowest point in their lives, and it can be very easy to take on a lot of their heaviness and their emotions into our lives. So what do you do, Gerald? How do you handle that?
Yeah, so specifically pre-foreclosures, when you're door knocking, as soon as I walk up out of that car, before I walk on that driveway, I divorce all desires to do a deal. I know that somebody else on the other side of that door is going through some heavy stuff, right? And when I talk with them, it's all about how you intro yourself. Obviously, you want to open up with compassion, open up differently than everybody else. But in order to really work with people who are in high distress, you got to come off as trustworthy as possible, and that's the way you carry yourself. That's the way you talk. That's the way you're listening to them, right? One of our core values that we share in our daily huddles is listen to understand, not to respond. In the beginning, at first, I would talk with homeowners and I would go straight into okay, this is what we can do, right? We're not collecting as much points of pain in order to see if we are capable of solving what's going on in their world. So, one of those things with like talking with the distressed homeowners is, there's going to be so much things that you want to say because you already have the thing. You already have the keys to help them solve that problem.
Yeah.
Right. But you got to stay in the pocket. You got to allow them to talk. You got to allow them to talk and really open themselves up. Right. And having to get them to open up is a whole different can of worms that we can, that we explore inside the school channel with the seller calls that Caroline hosts. It's all about building of that rapport.
I love that. And those calls that like Caroline does, like as a bonus inside the community, are like absolutely fire. So again, I don't say thank you enough, but thank you for coming inside there and doing.
Well, you buy me meals, so I do it. Gerald, we got to get you on there because they're hearing me all the time. Would you be open to letting us hear you make some calls?
Heck yeah, I would.
Dude,
yes.
That's the best. Cool.
So actually, a quick part 2 of this. And this goes for both of you actually, because I know I dealt with this. When you do get to know them, you do listen to understand. And now maybe Mrs. Smith is unloading 30 years of stress onto you, and she's telling you about how her husband died and now she has cancer, and like it just, you're really taking in their stuff. What do you guys do for yourselves personally after you take in and you have enough of those conversations where maybe you're carrying people's emotions with you outside of that appointment? What are you doing to reset so that the next day you can show up and now you're not just like bag of doom and gloom? How do you prevent yourself from essentially going into depression, listening to people talk about their most depressed stages of life?
Gosh, I've actually cried with homeowners because some of it's really heavy. I mean, you're dealing with, like, I've had people who are disabled. We've had to help get into new homes. We've helped them pack up their items. It's really tough. Honestly, I feel like this is just me just selling Marlon a lot. One of my favorite things of having you as a friend, we went to a brunch the other day with a few people, and one of them asked about one of the hardest times of our lives. And, I've covered it before, but I don't go into extreme detail. Like, for those of you that don't know, like, I've been very poor. I've been to a point where like my car was going to explode and I wasn't going to put money into it because the engine was just seizing up. I found out that Take 5 Oil will give you unlimited oil top offs for 6 months or 3,000 miles, whatever comes first. So I wasn't hitting that 3,000 miles. I wasn't driving far, but every week I was going through about 1.5 quarts of oil. So I found out how to be very poor. And I just kept thinking life was happening to me. Life was really tough. Like, man, of course of course the engine's going to explode. Of course somebody's going to cut me off in traffic. And one of my favorite things about you, I'm an aggressive defensive driver. So I will still get annoyed when somebody slow cuts me off. I'm like, of course this slow person cut me off and they can't drive. And you have really helped me change my perspective. And I celebrate and I practice gratitude every single day. And that's not something I did before I met you. I didn't focus on, like, Marlon is the mindset guy and you've talked about this for so long, but just that little, you will send out text messages and you'll tell me why you're grateful for our friendship. And Gerald, you've done that too. You have done a really good job of paying attention to what Marlon said and found the queen of the court to help elevate you. Because I'm always like, this guy is more than just good looking and has a strong hairline. Like, he will actually help you out. And I think hanging out and finding a friend, like we get to go play pickleball, we get to go do fun things. I am the luckiest girl in the world, not because you're so handsome, but because I get to play with my best friend every day and I get to bounce ideas off of you. And you've helped me share that with other people. And now, like, somebody gifted me this little bracelet. I don't know if you've ever read it. Can you see what it says right here? I was confused by it.
Be a light.
So I was given this little bracelet. It says be a light on it. And I was like, thank you. I didn't know why they gave it to me. Like, oh yeah, because you're just a sunshine. You're just a ball of light to everybody else. And that's one of the biggest compliments I get from people, is that I help light up their life. And I've always been fun and bubbly, but I haven't been this grateful and present until I started hanging around the Geralds, the Marlons, and the people in this inner circle. My life has gotten much better. So I try and tap back in to hanging out with you or someone like you when I can, because it's helped me a ton. But practicing gratitude is a big one, because it is really heavy and you have tough conversations. What about you, Gerald?
Yeah, I mean, you stole the words right out of my mouth.
I knew it. That's why I went first.
You stole the words. So I would always say, like, how do you deal with, the heaviness of situations? I just I know, because I've gone through that with my family before. And I could really speak on this. And I love Ismail's questions when it comes to the emotional aspect, because I grew up in such an emotional, unstable household, right? And I love my parents, so it's not a knock on them, but the construction industry is a very volatile industry, right? Mm-hmm. And especially if you own your own business. So we felt that up and down of the emotions of the market, because my dad was going in the up and downs of the market. And because it was that unstable emotional frequency of, like, we don't know when, like, it's going to be a good day or a bad day. Yeah. Matter of fact, one of the few things that I've observed, and I'm such an observant person, right? Like I do listen more than I talk. What I've observed when I was young is what I knew it was going to be a bad day when my father would go, to the casino, and based off of how my mom reacted, because of the way that she was if either he lost money or he made money was going to determine her reaction. Right. And again, it's not to put it on them. It was the emotions. It was the spirit. It was the energy in the house. It was so unstable. Right. I grew up in that environment, and I love my parents, but that environment I don't want to create for my family. Yeah. Right. I'm not comparing myself to my parents. It was just like, I knew what it was. I knew it was a spirit. I knew it was the energy. I knew it was just the type of the vibration that I would carry. So carrying into the homeowner's house, or bring it into the homeowner's situation, like that's what they're going through. And it's weird. And I feel like this is why it resonates with me the most, is like, I'm familiar with this. I'm familiar with the low negative vibration of depression, depression, right? That I've had to deal with that coming up, and entrepreneurship was the best thing that I had going for me. It's just the epitome of self-development. And the number one thing I really had to work on was just the confidence, the emotional intelligence, and having to bring it. And it's like this divine appointment with, like, I met Marlon, then I met Caroline, and now I'm here. And now I'm here serving these homeowners. And I can talk to Miss Sally Smith, who is this irate, depressed, hates the world, hates men, wants to sell her house, doesn't want to sell her house. And I'm just in the pocket, like, all right, I'm not reacting as much because I'm so familiar with this. Right. So
experience with it now.
Yeah.
Yes. So I've experienced it with my own family. I experienced it with my own self. It's going to take another homeowner to, like, get me off my rails, to be like, okay, this is different. But no, like they're all familiar. They're all going through this up and down vibration of energy.
That's so interesting. It's like the more you do this, the easier it is to, like you said, divorce yourself from the circumstance, divorce yourself from the situation. And I think about being like a doctor, right? Like I don't want the doctor who, quite frankly, that walks into the room and gets emotionally distressed with me. Like that's not like, dude, I need, you're the surgeon. I need you to have complete composure. I need to be trying to borrow your composure for my situation because I'm the patient and I'm freaking out. And like you said, it comes from you having walked through your own personal valleys of death, you having gone through your own crucibles, and you just showing up. And this is funny because this is like a part of this morning's conversation that we had inside of MMC where we were talking about, guys, like you got to be willing to show up bad. You got to be willing to show up ugly. You got to be willing to show up imperfect so that you can get through and earn the right to do this at a higher level. So I want to do rapid fire question here.
So you're giving us 30 seconds to give you an answer.
Yeah, 30-second answer. Matt Wallace Jr. says, Gerald, did the shift career
change your personal
habits?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Getting into real estate, I'm not only so from barbering to real estate, I used to talk to just one person for like a whole entire hour. Now in real estate, I'm like talking in Zooms, I'm talking to my team members. So it's having to like speak to the masses, right? Generalizing like thoughts and values and principles and concepts versus just diving deep into like one person's story and just sharing that one thing to that person and just elaborating a whole ton on that 1 hour. So like my personal habits, which is being capable of storytelling, being capable of connecting the dots. What I mean by that connecting the dots is just like, how can I tie the story to make sense to that one individual person versus now to a bigger group of people. So storytelling is like a personal habit that I'm trying to be competent unconsciously.
Again, I just said this about Marlon the other day. I remember when Marlon first started focusing on storytelling, I've had so many compliments because I bring, this is the other thing. Now that you're around Marlon, how many other doors have we opened up for you because of who you are and what you're focusing on? Marlon has helped me. I get access to his network. He gets access to mine. But next time you have a coaching call with him, make him take you through storytelling even more, because I've watched Marlon when he first started working on storytelling. Your storytelling, I had so many people that complimented me because I brought him to a speaking engagement. They love the way I am trying to look at you through the camera here, because when I look at your eyes, I just get so lost. They're so beautiful and caramel. No, but you really do. You're very good at storytelling and you're very good at making people feel seen and heard. And Gerald, you do that too. You both are actually, you have very similar personalities. I think.
Was just complimenting. I think it was before you jumped on the morning call that we were doing today that I was complimenting your storytelling. I was like, guys, I remembered watching Gerald's first handful of posts, and it's like, they weren't that good, but they were done. So done's better than perfect. So they were good in the sense of everyone that never made a post, you beat them. However, I've watched them improve, and I was like, guys, the only reason I even get to talk about this is because Gerald was willing to be bad so that he can now be good.
I remember when we first walked through and we had a phone call and I went back and forth on how you should pitch something. I can't remember. I think when you're first telling people how to join your team, I was like, this is what I did. And the first time you fumbled through it and you did it again and again and again, you keep doing it at these meetups. Gerald is my favorite because you are willing to look foolish, understanding you're only going to get better from that.
He takes action.
All right, that's over 30 seconds.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All right. Author says, Gerald, tell us how we can support you going into the Millionaire Mindset team.
Man, that's a great question. Mr.
I'll tell you.
I'm going to
say, I got it. Take it off the screen so they can see it. So if you guys look, Gerald's Instagram handle is right over here. Okay, so you guys can see it at Gerald Donaire. Is that how you say your last name, Donaire?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, see, close enough. Let a white girl say it. You can interact with them on Instagram. This is something that I do. This is what I have Marlon do. This is what I have Gerald do. Filtered through there. Now, one thing that I'm going to highlight for you, Gerald, as well. Marlon and I do this. I have automations on my Instagram so I can filter my time. Marlon doesn't talk to people until they've read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a straight up filter. You might get people reaching out to you from here on out. So here's your guys. If you want to get his attention or mine or Marlon's, you need to pay attention to what we ask you to do. It's my quickest way of knowing if they're going to be able to handle it. If you can't follow basic instructions, I'm not going to give you the time of day. So guys, you should go comment on Gerald's posts and pay attention to him. Every Tuesday, you do a meetup in Northern California where people can join and learn how to door knock with you, right?
Every Tuesdays and Thursdays.
And people can find that from your Instagram?
they will after this.
There you go. See,
Please go his Instagram in the
I will. I did it earlier. I'll do it again now. One thing I want to highlight as well: do it while strike while the iron's hot, because eventually Gerald's probably not going to do these Tuesday meetups. So this is one advantage that you guys have early on with everything. Get in there now and connect with him as he's doing these meetups, because they won't last forever. So snag him while you can, so you can get to the opportunity of being in the room with him when he's small enough. This is the biggest thing. When you see somebody, you see they have the trajectory of shooting forward, get on the boat with them now. Don't wait for it. Take imperfect action.
That's it. All right,
next
question here. So what advice for
I already answered this in the side chat. Don't worry about it. TTP is just something that we went through. We've already filtered it down, so you guys don't.
They're not even called TTP no more.
Yeah, it just stands for talk to people. It just means make the phone call. Right. So
final question. What advice do you have for those who want to do real estate but can't focus 100% for now because of family priorities?
So I'm going to rephrase that question for you, Gerald. You have a wife, you have a child, and you still are cutting hair when you can. How are you able, and this is actually perfect because he's gone through stuff with you, how are you able to maximize your time when you have a job and you have priorities and you need to pay bills?
Get yourself a mindset coach, one. No.
What does your day look like? If you showed us your Google Calendar.
So my Google Calendar is all over the place, right? And I remember, and this hit home with me, there's no such thing as balance. Integrate everything.
Yep.
And again, booby trapping my life for success means if I want to be a better husband, a better father, a better business community leader, how can I integrate everything together? Now, does that mean that my attention is spread elsewhere? Yeah, possibly. But as long as it's on the things that matter to me the most, and I'm depositing myself each and every day, every single day that every single moment that I can get, right? That means 10 minutes with my wife, but fully focused on her, and then getting back into the workplace, which my workplace is my garage. Right, booby trapping my environment for success, and then for other priorities like my faith, right, or fitness, everything is booby trapped to where I can do it efficiently and effectively within my own home. Now, does everybody have? Is everybody capable of doing that? Whether you live in an apartment or you don't have your own house, probably not, but that should be the next goal for you. So for me, 5 years ago, it was, man, like, how do I get out of this barbershop? How do I get out of this barbershop? How do I get into real estate? How do I start a team? Well, that's the direction you're headed towards. So that's kind of the overall thing is what I would say, Emmanuel, is, no such thing as balance, integrate everything.
Love it. I think that's perfect. And that's a great way for us to start to wrap this up. So Gerald, first off, I want to say thank you so much for making the time to be here. We lied to you. We told you this was only going to be an hour. This was an hour and a half. We told you this was going to start at like 7:30. We didn't start till like after 8 o'clock. So I really appreciate you taking time from your business, from your family, from your life to be here to support this community and to really speak to the audience, because everyone in the community has been asking for interviews, and they've your name has specifically been mentioned on I want to hear Gerald's story. I want to know how he's doing what he's doing. So thank you for coming on here. Thank you for committing to your growth and for trusting Caroline and I to help guide you and be a part of your journey. You're still the one doing the work, but we're grateful that we had the opportunity just to play a small role inside of your journey.
I'm going to add into that. You took the roadmap and the blueprint that I gave you. You implemented it and you bounced. There are things that Marlon and I do that are very similar. I do focus on portions of my stuff as mindset. It is boring. The money is made in the mundane, but you took what I gave you, you implemented it, and you kept going back to him. You were almost you're like a pinball. You're bouncing back and forth between us, and it's leading you into success. So you're so much fun to interact with and talk to, and I can't wait for us to collaborate in the future and do even more. I'm really proud of you, man.
So final thing, Gerald, I'm going to give you the last message here. What do you want to share, if anything, with people, someone who's brand new, getting started, maybe feeling a little overwhelmed, feeling stressed? What words of advice, encouragement would you like to share with them?
Yeah. So if you're in that season of overwhelm, stress, and uncertainty of like if this is the vehicle for you, continue to just look in the mirror, have those hard talks with yourself, find accountability partners, people like Marlon, like Caroline, that you can ask questions to, and they give you like real, like non BS answers, no matter how much it may affect your ego and like hurt you. Like if it does, then that's where you should start, is like, okay, why do I feel that way? Right. And just addressing those emotions, addressing those trigger points. Me coming from, again, like the emotional, instability, like household, I knew that was where I was at, and I can speak on that for, most of all. But the number one, and the number one thing above all that is just kind of like take things as they come, and just receive that it's a challenge that you have to partake in. You have to go through this. You have to go through that uncomfortable challenge. Have those hard talks. And Marlon, I appreciate you, man, for all the coaching, man, in the last year, and just, staying patient with me, staying consistent with me, and all that you've done for me and my family, for my faith, for my business, the direction that you've put me towards. Like, I know for me, like, there's a lot of things that I just gotta, take the first step, and it takes a lot to do that. It's that leap. It's always constant leap of faith, but knowing that you're there to guide me is so reassuring, man, because everybody needs that. Everybody needs that coach. And then for Caroline, I appreciate you for being who you are, having those hard talks with yourself. And when I'm on that when I'm in that daily dial, I'm just like, man, like, I am just so for that vision that you have, that helping homeowners, because I've gone through it myself. And when I've heard you say it for the first time, I thought it was crazy when Marlon asked me, hey, Gerald, what's your goal? And I told him, I want to help homeowners stop foreclosure too, just like Caroline. Right. And I thought it was crazy, but I'm like, no, that's what I want to do, because I see it right in front of me. And for that, I appreciate you. And I'm living my purpose. I'm living in my desire to express reality.
So I love that, man. I'm going to say this too. The goal for next year is for all of us to stop 1,000 foreclosures together. So we got to get going. If you guys want to join us in helping all these other families so they can get to the next chapter, jump on in, connect with us. Gerald, really proud of you. I'm going to let you sign us off, Marlon.
Yeah, guys. No, Gerald, super proud of you. I love that goal. And, guys, we're going to wrap it up here for today. If you guys got value from this, make sure you leave a comment, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed.
Share it.
And yeah, share this out. And I'm going to say, jump into the community, right? Like, you guys are on YouTube right now, and we love having you here on YouTube, but get closer to the campfire. If you're resonating with this message, if you're like, I love what Gerald is doing, I love what Caroline's doing, you like what I'm talking about, what I'm doing, we have these kinds of conversations every single day inside the private community, where we do a live Zoom call every morning, Monday through Friday. We call it the Morning Mindset Coffee, 6 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. We're getting inside there. We're talking mindset. We're talking growth. We're talking personal development. And then later in the evenings and afternoons, we do live seller calls as bonuses now. We already have a pre-recorded roadmap to show you exactly like what Gerald's talking about, what Caroline's talking about. It's already pre-recorded as straightforward A to Z what to do. But then every night, like tonight, 5 o'clock, we're going to be doing live seller calls where you guys will actually see. We'll have Caroline on the team. Gerald hopefully was going to be making some calls out there. Lindsay's going to be making calls and actually talking to homeowners in real time, going through the process, not seeing theory, but seeing the actual. So if that sounds good to you, jump into the school. I shared it in the side chat. Just go to school.com/MMC. And you guys can get if you're listening to the podcast here, if you go through that link, you'll get a 7-day free trial. When you do the free trial, do the premium free trial. Don't do the standard. The premium gets you access to all the live calls. The standard just gets you in the community. The premium is the one you want to do. And for today, if you join in today, it's $100 a month. The price is normally $250 a month. But today, because Gerald is so handsome, we're doing the Gerald special. We're doing $100 a month special.
Caroline.
So that is it, guys. We appreciate y'all. Also, let me know in the comments, who should we have on next? Who should we interview next We got to get someone that's not as handsome, though, because I feel like I'm not as good looking when Gerald comes on the screen. So
always competitive, always competitive. But guys, if you did get value, again, share this. Somebody needs to hear this because they've been where we've been. They've been where Gerald's at. They've been where we're going. So we want to bring you with us. See you guys next time.
Later, guys.
Thanks, Gerald.